doing bike and run day. Chee! A doobie-doo, a doobie-doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. Cause it's breakfast with Bob.
And Poncho Man. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today. Day 5, Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels, right fuel, right time, HOKA, Fly Human Fly, Deboer, Wetsuits, Quintana, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, he is the age group record holder at this course, Mr. Dan Plews. Plus, he's world record holder for age group 756.56 Ironman California last year.
That's right. It has been broken since, though.
Somebody got it.
Yeah, somebody got it in Hamburg, yeah. So.
Oh, my God. How fast did they go?
Oh, good question. 750, maybe?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, very
so it's
quick.
not like they inched under.
No, they smashed it. Yeah, they smoked it, yeah, for sure.
But
yeah.
records are made to be broken.
Exactly. And I'm pretty confident my record will go this weekend, I would imagine. Yeah, I think I'm pretty fortunate to have it for nearly 6 years now. So yeah.
As an athlete, as an age group athlete, did you race as a pro early on, or
a little bit, very very briefly? But that was very early days when I was in my early 20s.
Okay,
and that was when the World Championships was in Clearwater.
Right. Yeah.
I did a few pro races, but not. I did qualify for Clearwater as a pro, but I never went. But not really. Not really seriously. I was still working. So
did you always feel that coaching was that was going to be it for you?
Yeah, I mean, back then I started as a coach.
Yes.
I was actually talking to someone the other day. I've been coaching for 20 years now. So I started as a coach, but then I got more into the academia and sports science.
Right.
And I had a big period of my life where I was pretty much only working as a physiologist, supporting Olympic programs.
Right.
In what, very much data driven, not really coaching, but still coaching a few age groupers on the side. But I was doing a lot of that, doing my PhD, writing academic papers and stuff like that.
I mean, probably the biggest change in our sport has been the scientific side of it. As athletes are getting, 3D printing, their aero bars, and everybody, even age groupers, are in the wind tunnel. It's changed a ton.
I mean, even since I think I was last here I was here last year, but from 2018 when I raced, nobody had 3D printed bars.
None.
Now everybody has 3D printed bars. It's and back then it was only the pros who were doing wind tunnel testing, and now everybody's doing wind tunnel testing. So it's been big leap forward.
So when I look at the pro list over time, you coach Chelsea Sodero when she won here.
Yes.
Javier Gomez, Jan van Berkel. Choosing which pros to work with, can be a little different, a little difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's. I always go for their personality first and foremost, and time in the sport. I mean, I guess talent plays a part. You want to hope they're gonna go a long way, but I think first and foremost it's the person. Yeah. So I mean, I've been very fortunate to work with some amazing pros. I mean, even Tim Reed, Tim Van Berkel, Terenzo Bozzoni. So those to me were the glory days. I love those. I look back to the times I was coaching Terenzo, and they're some of my fondest memories of coaching for sure. Yeah.
Terenzo was one of those talents that we don't hear a lot about now.
Yeah, but he was amazing.
He was amazing, and I remember he would do a 70.3. He was one of the first guys who basically every week he was looking at those like they were sprint races.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember when I was coaching him in 2018. This is just before he had his accident that many might know about. He raced Ironman New Zealand, left, and then went back to back, winning 70.3s, 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
So he won Ironman New Zealand. So he did an Ironman, full Ironman first, and then next week a 70.3, then another 70.3, then another 70.3, and won every single one of them.
I remember he was in San Diego, and he was dealing with an Achilles issue.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, do you have a therapist I could work with?" And I had my buddy Gino Cinco was going to work on a little bit. Then he got on the Ultra G treadmill, ran a little bit, and he goes, "I think it's better." He went off and did a 70.3 in Mexico, the next weekend. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you're supposed to recover.
Yeah. He was. If you look at his times, his bike times were phenomenal as well. And he was. I think he was ahead of his time for how aero he was, because his watts weren't massive, but he was just naturally very aerodynamic and a very good 70.3 athlete.
So talk a little bit about EndureIQ, the partnership with SFuels and EndureIQ.
Yeah. So EndureIQ, we're a coaching company and a coach education company. We've got very proud to have 28 athletes racing here.
28.
Yeah, 28. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so 28 from between all our coaches and our squad. It includes 2 of our coaches who are racing here as well. But yeah, I mean, we're very closely tied with SFuels. It's our nutrition choice, and
right.
You know, I've been working with SFuels since 2017 as the technical director, and
right.
we really pushed to, you know, bring not only the performance side but also some of the health and performance side as well, with the right fuel, right time response. So
yeah. It's interesting because obviously you've got, you know, different zones, and I think SFuel is the first company to go, okay, you need different nutritions for the different zones you're training and racing in.
Yeah, and that's a big turn that we've had this year in that it was a little bit. We had these different products. We know we're not a low carb company. We're a right fuel, right time company. We have products that are very low in carbohydrates, but we've also got a product that's 60 grams of carbs per serve.
Right.
You know, which is standard really, with the idea that, you know, you can optimize your metabolism with using the right fuel at the right time, but you still go hard on the carbohydrates during race time and the high intensity efforts.
Do you find that, because the natural thing is more carbs, more carbs, more carbs.
Yeah.
Do you find that every body is so different that some people do well? When I raced here, going back when it was the dark ages, we had the carbo party on Thursday night, and you ate pasta. I never had a good race.
Yeah.
I just felt like so bloated by race day.
Yeah.
Right? But then when I started eating salads and things like that, I just did better without carbs.
Yeah, I mean, the whole space is so convoluted and I think if you said to someone who's a high carb athlete, they'll say to you, I recover so much better when I take a lot of carbs. And if you talk to someone who's lower on the carbs, they will say the exact same thing.
Yes.
You know, they'll say I recover so much better when I don't take on so many carbs. So it's very, very individual. But I think that, you know, basically you do end up in the same place. Really,
yes.
You know, you take less carbs, you burn more fat. Your calorie expenditure is the same. Your power output's the same. It's just coming from a different source, and it's what you choose. And I do think when you're generally lower carb, the carbs do turn into a super fuel when it comes race day. Whereas you become more and more dependent on them the more you're taking them during racing. So
it's funny, sometimes you get typecast, and I think people go, "Oh, SFuels, that's low carb."
Yeah,
and
which it isn't at all.
Which isn't the case, right? It's whatever works best for you.
Yeah, exactly. And in 2018, I did the marathon here. I took one gel.
One?
Yeah, one gel. Yeah, and I took the aid from the aid stations. But so many people would believe that's not even possible. But
that worked for your body.
It worked for me, yeah, and it changed my career, as I would say, as an age group athlete. In that I wasn't, until I started experimenting with kind of lower carb performance, and it's not ketogenic. In 2012, it changed me as an athlete. I was I was a 9:08 Ironman to an 8:24 here.
Yeah,
so,
8:24, 36.
Yeah.
And the fifth fastest overall marathon a day, 2:50:56.
Yeah.
Did you surprise yourself that day?
I did. Yeah, I was saying this to someone. I was talking to one of my athletes the other day because we were talking about pacing, and I was thinking I would run about a 2:55 that day.
Yeah.
I was actually just wanting to. I thought if I had a really good day, I might take Carl Buckingham's course record up for the age group, and that was 8:35. And luck played into my hands. It was a fast day.
Yes.
I was in good shape. I had a great day. So you got to be pretty fortunate.
When Chelsea won here, did it surprise you? Because she was, she certainly was one of the people we were looking at to be a contender.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was thinking, because you had Daniela Reef, you had Lucy, you had all the players, and here Chelsea comes running through and I saw it when she was running along, and all of a sudden you see her slow down at the aid station. I'm like, oh my God, she's going to walk. And then she slowed down to get her fuel in, and then she took off again.
Yeah.
Which we hadn't seen in a lot of years. People usually don't slow down. Was that part of the strategy?
Yeah, well, it wasn't part of our strategy, but it was part of hers apparently. So and it seemed to work pretty well. And before that race, we were talking about the possibility of a top 3.
Right.
Like if she had a great day, and it turns out she had an amazing day, and I think we were very fortunate that she wasn't. People weren't really watching her as much. Whereas I think after that race, lots of the athletes we can't have Chelsea here on the bike anymore. So they made life a bit more difficult. But that was it was a good day.
I remember talking to Sarah Crowley after that race.
Yeah.
And she was saying, Actually, it might have been the following year. She goes, one of the coaches, and I don't know which coach it was out there yelling, "Get rid of Chelsea!
Yeah.
You don't want her around."
A smart man.
I think it might have been Cam Watt. It was like, "Get rid of Chelsea."
Because I said to her she would run a 250.
Yes.
I thought she would run a 250 that year.
Yeah.
And she was a bit disappointed with that, though, actually.
Really?
Yeah, but I thought she could run faster, but she did run a 250.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And what she showed that day was just coming back from being a mom. And not just to participate, but to be at the highest level.
Exactly, yeah, which is fairy tale.
Very, very tough.
Yeah.
So you got 28 athletes. How do you, on race day, you're going to be a mess.
I think I've got the hardest day on Saturday.
You're going to be
chasing around all those athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the tracker going.
I need an extra battery for my iPhone.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, you got to be getting, it's funny. I remember Jim Vance had a few athletes a few years ago and just trying to get here to get the run split, and then people are coming in and the bike and get that.
Yeah. I'll be in the medical tent after, I think.
Yes, you will. You're going to need an IV. Got to figure out what the hell.
I've got to keep on top of my hydration.
Nice.
And fueling.
So what are the goals for Endure IQ? How do you want to have a couple hundred athletes? What do you want?
Obviously we want to, I think more than anything, we want to provide a good product, really.
Right.
And good coaching and good advice. And hopefully that would mean we get a lot of people. But I think first and foremost, we're just always after education and providing, we try to provide content. That's what we do more than anything. And, between we have a training science summaries that's every month where we summarize 10 studies, for example. We've got our monthly brew up where we do all these things, lots of blogs.
Right.
And I think that's the main thing. And with that builds trust, and hopefully athletes will come and join and get some good results. So, yeah, we're hoping to get a few podiums tomorrow, hopefully, and we'll see how we go.
A lot of athletes, they come to it used to be people didn't share.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't share you're Dave Scott, you're Mark Allen. This is my secret sauce. I'm not sharing any of that. In this day and age, Norwegians and Lionel, they share everything. Which I think has really helped up the ante for the age groupers and for the other pros.
Exactly.
Because there are no secrets.
Yeah, there are no secrets.
Now, people might inflate what they're doing to try to drive people crazy. But for the most part, you're seeing the real training that they're doing, and you're seeing the real results.
But I also think with that comes a lot of confusion.
Yes.
Because there's so much information out there. Because everybody is sharing. And Endure IQ, what we try to do is distill some of that information and make it into a more absorbable, digestible form and simplify it, especially with lots of the science that's out there.
Right.
And I think the science is so important because we can, you can copy pros of what they're doing, but in the end of the day, they're generally outliers, and the science is where the averages, standard deviations, and that's where the baseline guidance would come from before you start moving on to different things. You start with the science, and then you might find that you might do a bit more of this or a bit less of this based on your own experiences. But I think basic guidelines need to be based on scientific vigor. Yeah.
So when I look at the pro field here, and it's funny because obviously we interview Sam Laidlaw and Lionel and the names people know.
Yeah.
The number of, and it used to be back in the day, people started sprint and they moved to Olympic and they followed the Olympic for a while, and like Jan Frodeno came over here when they're 30, 31 years old. Tim O'Donnell told us yesterday, I think his first Ironman, he was 30, 31. Yeah. These guys are coming in and doing Ironman when they're 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
And hammering.
Yeah.
Right? They're riding 403, 404. They're running in the 230s, and they're swimming 46, 47. Has it surprised you how fast people are going so young?
It's actually just surprised me the general jump in performance in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Generally, I think, and it's just coming from younger athletes now.
Yes.
Because I do a lot of analysis of what it takes, and for a T100. That was used to be, like that sort of distance would be 4.5 watts per kilo, 4.4, and now it's closer to 5 watts per kilo. And I think it's, and if you look at the kind of the older generation, it's catching them out a bit because they are struggling to keep up on the bike, especially because and from what I can see with the 70.3 racing, and it's not that necessarily the thresholds and the powers are getting higher, they're just going at a higher, what we call fractional utilization. So they used to be at 85% of threshold, now they'll be at 90 to 95% of threshold and still running.
That's the thing. They're not like
Yeah.
they're getting off the bike and going slower.
Yeah. They're not going slower, but they're not going much faster on the run. The running is I would say in a T100 in Ironman
right.
they definitely are. Yeah,
Ironman they are. And how much
yeah.
of a difference has a plated shoes made in terms of running?
Yeah, I mean, it does make a difference, but I don't think it's all the difference.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the athlete. I was reading an article the other day that said that, you know, the worse runner you are, the probably the more it plays into your advantage. So the Patrick Langers probably aren't as bumped up as
no question
as someone who's a not so good runner. But
right.
you know, over a marathon, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 3 to 4 minutes. So a big difference. But we're talking. I remember Cameron. I'm obviously friends with Cameron Brown, who's a fellow Kiwi. You know, when he won here, when he came second here, and when Tim Deboer won, he ran a 2:58.
Yeah.
You know,
right?
It's crazy.
I know.
Now it'll be like a 2:35 probably.
Well, and it's funny because you look back to the '89 Iron War when those guys ran 240 and 241, and when 809 810. A lot of the years since they weren't much faster.
No.
Right?
No.
You swam 50, you rode 420, and you ran you ran 245.
Yeah.
250. You're there.
Yeah,
you're on the podium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's remarkable. So it's definitely been a step up. I think that since COVID, it's a different story.
My feeling during COVID is a lot of athletes go, okay, sport's coming back. I don't have to travel. I don't have to taper.
Yeah.
I don't have to recover. I'm just going to pile workouts out over and over and over again
it seems to help.
and get better.
It's funny, training helps.
What a surprise that is! Actually, training and a training block that never ends.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe that was a difference.
I think it made a huge difference for a lot of these guys. And just the other thing is, I don't see any. Gosh, I shouldn't be in the lead here. Nobody's afraid.
No.
They're not afraid to put their head in the wind and go for it.
I can see a situation tomorrow where Sam Laidlow just takes it by the horns and goes from the start.
No, quite. Well, I think he will.
Yeah.
And the question's going to be, does Magnus, like it challenged Roth 2 years ago, where Magnus and Sam, it was beautiful, right?
Yeah.
The two of those guys time trialed legally, but perfectly. And then they got off the bike and Sam's calf cramped up. So Sam certainly doesn't want Magnus around. But I think if Magnus does catch him, the two of those guys can do some damage for the guys behind.
I think it will be interesting because from what my understanding is, they probably think they're both better runners than each other.
Yes.
So,
You
know, so Sam thinks he's better than Magnus. Magnus thinks he's better than Sam, and they'll probably work together as a result. If you're with someone and you know they're a better runner than you, you're a little bit always a little bit reluctant.
Yes.
Right. So it could be for a good race.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't know who's swimming with Sam.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. And Sam, like in Nice, he knew he got 5 minutes on Magnus, and Magnus never could make a dent in that. And then, and he was so much bigger. And that bike ride, I think, took a lot out of him compared to Sam.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be very good. Exciting.
You're going to have to try to squeeze in watching that race in between the 28 athletes you're chasing around this island.
I know. But fortunately, they're always easy to find because they're in the front.
They're pretty easy. I love that. And so any races coming up for you?
No, I'm not racing anymore.
Really?
I retired from Ironman. Yeah, from triathlon.
Well,
so just into the coaching.
When you get the 824 and that course record's still here, and then you set up the 756.
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell you got to prove?
Well, that's my point. Yeah, so I've kind of stopped doing that. I've been doing high rocks racing. If you know what that is.
I do. It's high intensity weight, carry stuff.
Yeah, it's like run and a fitness station, run and a fitness station. So it's got that it's basically 8 1Ks, and there's ski erg, sled push, sled pull, burpee broad jumps, walking lunges, and it takes about an hour, but it's good. It's much less training involved, which is nice, and it keeps me active and occupied. So.
Well, and I think it's interesting because Mark Sisson is going to be on me with it later, but this was a guy who was a 220-something marathoner, finished fourth here in February of '82. Yeah. But his whole thing over time has been he had moved away from endurance, high intensity, weight training, exactly what you're doing.
And I really enjoy it. I mean, when I stopped, I really got only into the weight training. Yes. And I got a lot stronger, a lot bigger. I didn't really enjoy it as much, and then brought back in the running again. Yes. And it's good. So and I did my first one, qualified for the World Championships.
Sweet.
And, yes, I'm going to Chicago to do the
High Rocks World Championships.
In June. So
next June.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Lance was doing that too. Lance Armstrong was doing that.
Maybe, yeah.
You're going to go head to head with Lance over there.
I think he's a bit older than me. But I know my time. But I obviously know my time's faster than his.
Is it?
Yes.
Out of a round of applause. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Poncho Man.
Friday, gonna swim, bike, and run day. A doobie-doo, a doobie-doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. Cause it's breakfast with Bob.
And Poncho Man, everybody.